Sorry for the delay. Just getting back from the holidays. As you can tell, beardless now. The beard will be back shortly, so you don't have to worry. Jack Catterall defeated Harlem Eubank, and if you sat through this fight in its entirety, you're a better person than me. Catterall's got some real questions for me, right? Because it's obvious the talent is there, and kind of like how Dakota said on the pod this week, Joe Cordina always feels like someone who has the skills to be a world-class fighter, but then he has question marks at times, and we're like, where does he fit? That's starting to become Jack Catterall. Maybe it's a British domestic level thing where if you stay in the British circuit and you don't bring opponents in who are at that next level, so forth or so on, there's a level of stagnation. But Harlem Eubank, to me, I get that he's marketable and there's a level of talent, but I don't see him as this next level fighter. I see him as a flawed fighter, a capable operator, but someone who's going to kind of showboat in a way to psychologically disguise his inability to fluidly fight every second of every round. He's going to have to take breaks, fight in spurts. He's got ways to kind of work around these flaws. And Catterall's low punch output is always going to be his kryptonite because he needs someone to initiate with him so he can sharpshoot. It's a shame in 2022 he didn't get the win over Taylor because that would have been a career-defining win. But since that fight, yes, he's beat Taylor in the rematch, which kind of cemented his legacy to a certain extent. But he's never really had another performance where he looked that good. Barbosa outworked him in weaponized pace, and in this fight, Eubank was very, very awkward. What I think a lot of gym guys, at least in my era, would call herky-jerky. I think that style is still referenced, but I don't hear it as much anymore, albeit I don't really go to the gyms anymore. I'd say about maybe 8, 10, 6, even 6 years ago, I was really in the gyms, and now I'm just not in the gyms, so I don't have that keen eye to observe things. I don't have that ability to know how people talk about it in the gyms in the same way. Because when I was really in there, a guy that fought like Eubank would be what we call herky-jerky, which is a great way to get a head clash, not very timeable, just really not fun to fight because they're so awkward and you can't get someone to emulate their style. I always think the king of the herky-jerky is someone like Carlos Molina, Sakio Bika. It's like their rhythm. They have a rhythm, but their rhythm is 1 and 3s instead of 2s and 4s if you know music. So it's just an awkward style. So for Catterall, to me, I saw a clear level difference, but I didn't really see him weaponizing his talent. I didn't see him taking over the fight, which honestly was a great disappointment for me. I really wanted to see him cement his legacy in this fight and say that I'm now a welterweight and I'm one of the best guys. I think he's leaving this fight with the dreaded thing we never want from a talented fighter is, where is he at? We're leaving a fight with Harlem Eubank, someone that I don't really perceive as a top up-and-comer. Maybe I'm wrong in that regard, but I've watched a few of his fights. I've never really been too keen on making time to watch him fight. In my opinion, he prematurely got a fight with Jack Catterall. He was still building up, but it was probably a profitable fight, a big money fight, a big opportunity. And he wasn't really in it, but Catterall's lack of output and lack of willing to take chances in a fight made the fight a little bit more competitive than it should have been. And I felt that the fight was overwhelming. The fact that they both got cut, the fact that the fight got stopped on cuts, it just speaks to a very lackluster performance is all. I was actually kind of underwhelmed to the point where I didn't even know if I was going to do this, but I feel like I owe it to the viewership to give analysis on these fights. Catterall, I'm not sure what he is. And it's confusing because 2 fights before he fought Barbosa, a fight ago, I thought this really might have been the best 140-pounder. He fights Barbosa. Barbosa gets a career-defining win, becomes a champion. Amazing. Now, after that fight, I'm seeing more of the flaws than I am seeing when he was separating and looking like a very, very tough equation for most people. So Are these just stylistic issues? Is this the dreaded thing that we look at in analytics? A trend? Are his performances trending in the wrong way? I'm not exactly sure, but currently I'm not as excited about where Jack Catterall's career is going. And he has to do something different in his next performance to get to where I think he should have been a few years ago. So we will see. I think the big thing for him is fighting competition outside of just a British domestic level. He needs to fight world class, world level opponents and see where he stacks up. Because I think if he fights this level of opponent in British level fights, this is where he's going to be, and he's going to transition into kind of the guy that fights the future legends as opposed to becoming a future legend. So if he wants to become a future legend, he has to do inevitably. He has to face the top 10 guys worldwide and not just in his region.